It was the kind of discovery that hits you like a punch, not in the gut, but in the soul. I wasn't snooping. I swear on everything, I wasn't. I was flipping the mattress in our guest room, trying to clean up after a long week. That's when I saw it. A soft-cover journal tucked tight between the springs and the frame, the kind of hiding spot a teenager might use for a diary they didn't want their parents to find. At first, I didn't even touch it. I just stared. My wife's handwriting was scrawled across the cover in black Sharpie. Do not read. Bold, underlined twice. So I didn't. Not at first. I sat on the edge of the bed with it in my lap for maybe 10 minutes, heart thudding like a drum, that dumb message burning holes through the soft cardboard. Curiosity's a funny thing. It doesn't come at you like a whisper, it screams in your ear. But I would have put it back. I would have buried it again like I never saw it, if it hadn't been for the name. One careless glance as the pages shifted in my lap. One name in all caps, dead center on the first page. Ryan. My brother's name. Not a common one. Not some throwaway like John or Mike. Ryan. I opened it then. Couldn't help myself. Not with that name staring me down like a dare. I read the first line. I didn't mean for it to happen with Ryan. But the way he looked at me in the kitchen that night, I knew. I knew before it even started. Everything inside me went still. No blood, no breath. Just a kind of suspended disbelief, like when you see the ocean pull back before a tsunami. Ryan. My little brother. The same kid I used to piggyback through snowstorms, who stood next to me on my wedding day, fixing my tie with shaky fingers. My best man. My best friend. My own blood. I turned the page. I told myself it was just a moment, just wine and loneliness and the way he remembered things about me that even Alex forgot. But it wasn't. I wanted it. And so did he. I dropped the book. I remember that. How it literally slid from my fingers like it burned me. Because it did. Because something inside me broke right there in that quiet room, while my wife laughed at something on TV downstairs, and my brother was probably texting me about football scores. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I sat. And sat. And sat. 31 minutes, according to the clock on the wall. I just stared at the floor like it would rearrange itself into some answer that made sense. When I finally picked the journal back up, I told myself I'd only read a little more. Just enough to make sure I hadn't misunderstood. That it wasn't some weird metaphor, some kind of emotional venting about a crush she never acted on. But it wasn't. It was detailed, not explicit, not in the way some stories are, but emotional, real. She wrote about the way he made her feel, the way his hand brushed hers when they reached for the same bottle of wine, the way they stayed up talking after I fell asleep on the couch during family holidays, the inside jokes, the charged silences, the messages sent and deleted. It didn't happen all at once. According to the journal, the first actual kiss came 6 months ago, during our anniversary trip. The one where Ryan flew out to surprise us with tickets to that rooftop concert I'd told him she loved. I remember thinking how thoughtful that was. How selfless. I didn't know I'd invited the arsonist into my home and handed him the matches. We both hated ourselves afterward, she wrote. But that didn't stop us. We tried. We promised no more. But promises built on guilt are paper boats in a hurricane. That sentence gutted me, because I knew the truth in it. I'd made promises like that before. About my drinking in college. About work-life balance. About not bringing my stress home. And every time I broke one, she forgave me, told me love was stronger than mistakes. But this wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. A story unfolding in secret chapters beneath my nose. The pages blurred as I flipped through them. Every paragraph a pinprick to the lungs. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was the tenderness, the affection she still held for him in those pages. She never described him as the villain. Not once. She called him familiar, safe, a memory that grew teeth. It wasn't about sex. That much was clear. It was about connection. That unbearable, elusive thing she once said I made her feel when we were first dating. That warmth. That spark. That feeling like you've been seen completely and chosen anyway. I thought we still had that. God help me. I thought we still had that. There was an entry from 3 weeks ago, right after my birthday dinner, the one where she gave me that stupid watch I'd casually mentioned in passing. She wrote, I watched Alex open his gift and smile like he believed I really saw him. I wanted to scream. I wanted to disappear. I closed the journal. Couldn't read anymore. I didn't know what scared me more, the fact that she'd fallen for my brother or the possibility that she still loved me too. and didn't know how to stop hurting either of us. Downstairs, the TV clicked off. I heard her stretch, yawn, the soft patter of her feet on hardwood. She was heading to bed. I slid the journal back under the mattress, every nerve in my body screaming. She lay next to me that night like nothing was wrong. Her arm brushed mine. She said, "Good night, babe," and kissed my shoulder before rolling over. I didn't respond. I stared at the ceiling, wide-eyed, the name Ryan echoing like a siren in a fog. And that was the beginning of the unraveling. The moment the ground beneath our life cracked, not with a boom, but a whisper. A single name on a single page. I didn't say anything for 5 days. Not because I was planning some grand confrontation, and not because I was in denial. I stayed silent because I didn't know who I was anymore without the life I'd been living. It's strange how grief doesn't arrive like thunder. It creeps. Subtle. Creeping in the way your favorite breakfast suddenly tastes bland. And how the couch you used to sink into now feels like it's pushing you out. Those 5 days were filled with moments I'll never forget. Not because they were dramatic, but because of how ordinary they were. My wife humming in the kitchen. The scent of her shampoo lingering on the towel. The way she absent-mindedly reached for my hand in the car and laced her fingers through mine. If I hadn't read the journal, I'd have thought we were fine. She laughed more that week. She touched me more. It was like something in her had softened again, like she was making some silent amends. But I couldn't receive any of it. It all felt counterfeit now, like hearing, "I love you" from someone you know just rehearsed it in the mirror for someone else. And then there was Ryan. He texted me the next morning after I found the journal. "You around this weekend? Want to catch the game?" I stared at the message for a long time. His name, so familiar, so harmless until now. I thought about the way he used to shove me into the bushes when we were kids. How he'd sneak out and cover for me when I broke curfew. I thought about the speech he gave at our wedding. How he choked up when he said, "Alex is the kind of man you only get once in a lifetime. And I'm lucky he's my brother." I used to believe every word of that. I didn't reply. Instead, I watched him from a distance. Social media. Location sharing. I still had access to his Spotify. He never changed the password. That weekend, I saw him listening to the same acoustic playlist my wife loved. Same time she was out getting groceries. Paranoia is a funny thing. It doesn't ask for permission. It just moves in and rearranges all the furniture in your mind. I started noticing things I hadn't before. The way she'd smile at her phone, then lock it quickly. The fact that she suddenly wanted to go for solo drives in the middle of the afternoon. The new perfume. Subtle, but not when I bought her. And yet, part of me still hoped I was wrong. Still hoped the journal was just fantasy. Guilt poured out onto paper. A confession that never materialized. I even told myself maybe it was over. That they'd come to their senses, realized it was a mistake. But that lie unraveled quickly. Thursday night, I followed her. It was drizzling, just enough to blur the windshield. She said she was going to meet a friend from work. Maya, the same Maya who just had a baby and was neck-deep in diaper chaos. I smiled, kissed her on the forehead, and walked her to the car like the idiot I was pretending to be. Then I waited. 15 minutes later, I left in my own car, tailing from 2 blocks behind. She didn't notice. She wasn't expecting me to play detective. She didn't drive toward Maya's. She took the freeway, then a turn into a residential area, one I knew far too well. Ryan's neighborhood. I parked at the end of the street, lights off, hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached. Her car was there, right in front of his building. I didn't need to see anything more. But still, I waited. 20 minutes passed. 30. I don't remember making the decision to go up there. I just found myself at the foot of his apartment steps, feet soaked, heart pounding in some disbelieving rhythm. And then the door opened. She stepped out first, hoodie up, eyes darting left and right like guilt had a face. She didn't see me. Ryan was behind her, barefoot, holding her wrist as she turned to go. Their heads were close, their voices low. Then he kissed her. Not long, not passionate, just familiar. I didn't breathe. I backed away before they saw me, each step feeling like I was walking out of my own body. I got in my car, turned the key, and drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. That night, I slept in the guest room. She didn't ask why. Maybe she knew. Maybe she thought I was just tired or upset about something she could pretend wasn't about him. Either way, the silence between us was thicker than any scream I could have let out. The next morning, Ryan texted again. "You okay? Haven't heard from you." I stared at the message for a full minute. Then I replied, "We need to talk. In person." We met that afternoon at a small diner halfway between our places. He looked nervous, but still flashed that easy smile he always had. I sat across from him, hands folded, eyes fixed. He started with small talk. I didn't respond. Then I said it. "How long, Ryan?" His smile faltered. "How long has it been going on with her?" His face drained of color. And right there I saw it. The moment guilt stripped him bare. "Alex, I raised a hand. Quiet. Firm. Just answer." He looked down. His voice was small. "Since April. Not all the time. It was complicated." I laughed once, short, humorless. Complicated. That word, like betrayal, needed a thesaurus. I didn't hit him. I didn't shout. But I did lean forward and say the one thing that felt truer than anything I'd ever said. "You weren't just my brother. You were the last person I believed couldn't lie to me." His eyes filled. Mine stayed dry. I stood up, paid the bill, and walked out. That was the last time I saw him. When I got home, she was in the kitchen, making pasta. She smiled when I walked in, like nothing was broken. "Hey, I was thinking we could do a movie night tonight." I interrupted her. "We need to talk." Her smile faltered. The spoon in her hand stilled. She turned slowly, eyes searching mine for some clue about where this was going. I didn't sit. I didn't blink. "I know about you and Ryan." The silence that followed was different from any before. Not fear. Not denial. Resignation. She just stood there, like a prisoner who finally heard the verdict. She didn't deny it. That's what hit me first. No wide-eyed gasp. No, "What are you talking about?" Just a long, shallow breath and her gaze falling to the floor like even her eyes couldn't bear to look at me. I said nothing. She leaned against the counter slowly, like her legs might give out. The room was quiet. Too quiet, save for the faint bubbling of the pasta water behind her. It was surreal. The world should have been crashing down. Things should have been flying, breaking, burning. But there we were, two people in a still kitchen, one truth between us sucking all the oxygen out of the room. "I'm sorry," she finally said. 2 words. Soft. Small. Not enough. I waited for more. Some explanation. Some plea. Instead, she kept her hands folded over her stomach like she was holding herself together. Her voice came next, low, flat. "It wasn't supposed to happen." That phrase. That damned phrase. I'd read it in the diary, heard it 1,000 times in movies, and now it was leaking out of her mouth like it could somehow soften the blow. I stayed calm. I asked the only question that mattered to me in that moment. "Did you love him?" She hesitated. And in that pause, my heart broke all over again. "Not in the way I love you," she said. It was different. Her voice cracked. It was familiar, comfortable, like something I didn't realize I missed. That hurt more than a yes. Because I could have fought a yes. I could have hated her for it, yelled, slammed doors, done something stupid and loud to make sense of it. But this quiet truth that I had become less, not unloved, just unnoticed, that was a wound with no clean edge. "How long?" I asked, though I already knew. "Since April," she said. "The night of the concert." Of course. The rooftop, the wine, the 3 of us laughing under string lights. I remembered thinking how good it felt to have them both there, the 2 people I loved most in the world. I didn't know that while I was off getting drinks, they were stealing glances that didn't belong to me. "I ended it," she said quickly. "Weeks ago. We haven't seen each other since." I almost laughed. She was talking like the affair was a book she put back on the shelf. Like closure was hers to declare. I looked at her then, not just at her face, but at her. The woman I'd married. The woman I'd built a life with. I saw the lines around her eyes, the way her shoulders curled inward now, the faint tremble in her lip. She wasn't proud of what she'd done, but she wasn't shocked either. She'd made peace with her own choices before I ever opened that journal. "I read it," I said. Her brows furrowed. "What?" "The journal. Under the mattress." Her face drained of color. Her hand went to her mouth, as if the words could be swallowed back in time. She sank onto a stool, eyes wide, ashamed. "You weren't supposed to." "I know," I cut in. "I wasn't going to. But your first page had my brother's name on it." She nodded, slowly. Her silence was the most honest thing in the room. I asked one last thing. "Why him?" And this time, she looked me in the eye. Because he looked at me like I still mattered. That was the final fracture. The words didn't make me angry, not in the fire and fury way. They just emptied me. I nodded, like someone signing for a package they never ordered. Then I turned, walked upstairs, and started packing. She followed me to the doorway, didn't cross it. Alex. I didn't answer. Are you leaving? Yeah, I said quietly. I am. For how long? Long enough. She didn't cry. I think she knew she'd already cried all the tears this deserved. I think part of her expected me to rage, to scream, to slam the door, and come back later when the smoke cleared. But I wasn't coming back. I filled a single duffel bag. Essentials. Nothing sentimental. I left the photo frames untouched. Our wedding album. The anniversary gifts. Her notes. All of it stayed. At the bottom of the stairs, she stood with her arms wrapped around herself. I didn't mean to lose you. I stopped, looked at her. You didn't lose me, I said. You gave me away. And then I walked out. The air was cold that night. Too cold for October. I sat in my car with the engine off for a while, watching the house that used to be mine fade into darkness. I thought of the life we built. The mornings. The shared dreams. The easy silence we used to sit in together. I thought of Ryan, too. I wondered if he was sleeping soundly or staring at the same ceiling, haunted by the same mistakes. I didn't block her. Didn't trash talk her to friends or post vague quotes on social media. I just disappeared. I got an Airbnb 2 towns over. Started going on long drives. Cleared out the shared accounts. Moved in silence. That first week, she texted me 4 times. All variations of "Can we talk?" and "Please." I didn't respond. The 5th text just said, "I understand." I believed she did. And maybe one day, I'll understand too. Maybe I'll see the cracks I missed, the ways I failed to notice her fading. Maybe I'll forgive her. Maybe I won't. But tonight, I sleep alone. And for the first time in months, I don't feel like I'm sharing my bed with a stranger who's already gone. I don't feel betrayed anymore. I just feel free.